it is so important to map out your customer's journey from acquisition all to through retention. So then you can pinpoint what that type of customer's pains, needs, and wants are, and how you can like change your own marketing or your own CX strategies to that.
We have to think about the customers who shop with us and don't want to be engaged with us and like looking at those. So like I think about like ticket to order ratio is like such an important metric to think about.
Hey friends, welcome to Above the Fold podcast. I'm your host, Jess Servion. We're going to be talking about everything in your customer's journey. You're going to learn things about customer experience, brand experience, and marketing secrets that help you drive your brand success. So stay tuned, buckle up, and let's get into the episode.
Welcome back to another episode of Above the Fold Pod. Thank you so much for joining. We are virtually in the studio with Sydney Chesler, who is the Director of CX at Fresh Clean Threads.
That's right.
At Fresh Clean Threads. Offline, we had a whole thing. They changed their name, so it makes it fun, which I actually have questions about CX now, even with that. But before we get into it, Sydney, thank you so much for joining. You're a baddie. Not only were you at Fresh Clean Threads, you also were at Glossier too, and you have like such a dope background in CX, and I'm super excited to just like have you on.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. What an honor. I'm at Fresh Clean Threads as Director of CX, and before that was at Glossier for about 5 years and riding the CX wave there. Loved working there and having different D2C industry background is so interesting. Like the difference between how CX works for a beauty brand like Glossier and for a apparel company like Fresh Clean Threads with really different customer bases as well, different demographics. It's been really cool learning experience to have both of those. So,
I mean, I think you even hit on a point before we even get into like questions and talking about things. Like you're absolutely right. I work with like across a lot of different brands, and it's so interesting, like seeing the audience shifts too. Like between Glossier, like that's obviously more beauty related, right? For men and women. And so that audience has to be so different than like the apparel aspect where it's like both men and women as well, but like different wants and needs, right?
100%. It's so interesting. Like customers care about different things. Like it's so interesting. Like when I first started at Fresh Clean Threads, I think my mindset was still like, I understand what my customers care about at Glossier. And then I had to kind of shift mindset to be like, okay, some of the things fall over. Like a customer cares if their order arrives on time, but like there are certain things that customers really care about. Like, for example, like a 25-year-old woman who's buying skincare for the first time has such different needs than a 45-year-old man who's trying to just like buy new t-shirts for his vacation. Like there's just so much different. You have to think about like, what does the customer care about the most? And what are all those different things?
Yeah. Well, I think that that's like a very valid point in like customer experience as a whole, like understanding like the needs and wants, but also just kind of like understanding like every customer journey is so different. And this might be a hot take. I'm going to be honest with you. This is going to be a real hot take. I like encounter a lot of brands who are like, yeah, I'm going to build this brand and I'm going to do the same acquisition strategy that I did maybe at the apparel brand versus like the health and wellness brand. Right. Yeah. And those things definitely work, but then nobody actually thinks about the customer journey of that customer. And so like what I even mean more tactily is that I think that it's so important, whether you're an operator, a founder, whatever your position is, if you're working in marketing and CX, it is so important to map out your customer's journey from
Yes.
acquisition all to through retention. So then you can pinpoint what that type of customer's pains, needs, and wants are, and how you can like change your own marketing or your own CX strategies to that.
100%. And I think, you know, what's interesting too is like almost on the flip side of it is like, I think sometimes we get like, I 100%, 125% agree with you on that.
Girl.
However, I will say there's a flip side of it where it's like we get bogged down in our specific customer, of like listening to our specific customer when like there are so many other perspectives out there. And when we like are looking at like a conversation from a customer, like one specific customer, or like reviews or like post-purchase surveys, we're missing all of the customers who didn't want to engage with us, whether for positive or negative reasons. And so it's like, okay, they don't want to talk to us. That's fine. But we need to reach them in some way, which is mapping out that customer journey. And sometimes that means we have to think about the perspective of like somebody who might not already be shopping with us. And so like one of the things that I have learned is like talking to people in my life that don't know anything about customer experience and like might not even be like my target customer, and just like hearing their stories of like, what happened to you when you were shopping on XYZ site, and like, how did you feel, and what was missing, and like, what was the communication, and like using that to like think about other potential journeys that your customer might be having when they come to your site or when they're receiving their package from you. Like it just, the breadth of it is so vast that like hearing all those different points of view, it like brings in other perspectives that help you build.
Dude, totally, right? It's like, it brings in other perspectives. You know, I was actually on a webinar like last week with the director of CX at Who Gives a Crap. And we were kind of talking about loyalty, and he made a really valid point. He was like, this is going to be a hot take, but people don't care about your brand like you think they care about your brand. And I was like, damn, he's right.
Yes.
And he's right. And even in like what you're saying in that perspective of like, it's so valid to talk to other people who are maybe who didn't answer those questions, who are outside of your ideal customer, to even understand their wants and needs. Because from a marketing perspective, a CX perspective, it's so important to put yourself in different shoes to really see the broad picture of a holistic customer journey. You know, like somebody could buy from you one time and maybe they're like used to buying, I don't know, their t-shirts at Target, right? And like they're going to try Fresh Clean Threads as like a one-time purchase, but like their purchase history is probably more at brick and mortar than it is online. So their experience is so different, you know?
Totally, 100%. And I think there's like we get, like when we think about measuring customer experience, I think another thing that we get like blinders on is like CSAT and reviews and things like that, of like, what are those numbers? But it's forgetting, like we have to think about the customers who shop with us and don't want to be engaged with us, and like looking at those. So like I think about like ticket to order ratio is like such an important metric to think about, because if we have a lower ticket to order ratio, combining that with the other metrics like quality metrics and reviews and things like that is so important to understand, like who are our like silent brand champions, that are customers who are on our site and placing an order and everything runs smoothly because we did a really good job with the like holistic CX. So we're not cleanup crew. We're like looking at everything across the board, and like we can consider that a CX win, that customer went through the process and didn't say anything to us, and then they like came back in a couple months and that's our signal that like CX is working well. Or like conversion on the flip side, that's the thing too. Like what's going on in that customer journey? They are a silent sufferer. They didn't reach out and say like my promo code didn't work. Like I think it's often like, oh, what's the volume like of the impact of this issue? It's like, well, we know some of it, but we're missing so much of it by only looking at the number of tickets that were created by this issue.
Totally. And I think, I mean, what you're saying is, yes, like the customer journey pieces of it, but it's like, it's that holistic vision as a whole, right? Like, and I think that a lot of times brands get so blinded by saying like, I'm going to do this one thing siloed here, and then CX is going to be over here. And I mean, like, this is what we're always in a crusade on in our sisterhood of the traveling CX pants, right?
Yeah.
It's our group chat, everybody, just so you know. But this is literally like what we're always on a crusader on, like as CX leaders, is that that's cute that you've acquired those customers and that's cute that you've done those things, but you have to think about these things so holistically, because it's not just about like one issue. Maybe supply chain had this one issue about out of stock, right? And the trickle down effect, it happens to CX in like a ticketing perspective. But a lot of times that's actually a really good example. Like, because I've run into this where supply chain was like, we're going to go and pre-order on this item, but we don't actually have it in stock yet. And it's going to be in the warehouse in 3 days. So we'll be okay. But they don't think about like the holistic journey of like what it means to go into pre-order. And if you might get that into your fulfillment center in 3 days, but when people actually start shipping that product probably won't be for another 5 to 7. So then on the front end, when you're selling a pre-order, you're telling your customer one thing because you're thinking about like all of your shipping and process times for a regular order, but you're not actually thinking about it for like what would happen with pre-order, what would happen with it when it comes into the fulfillment center. You need to be transparent. And so then what you're saying, right, is like not thinking about it as the one issue that caused the ticket. It's thinking about like the holistic journey of all of the trickle down effect.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, from a retention perspective, thinking about, well, if somebody had a really good experience with that pre-order experience, then they might come back. That is a measure of good CX. That isn't just a ticket. It's like something that flies across the entire journey.
Yes, 100%. You have to have people in every department thinking about the customer. Like it's just it's so crazy. I mean, like you said, it's our crusade. It's like why do we do anything? Like as an organization, it's for the customer, so we need to be thinking about the experience the customer is having.
Yeah, I mean, girl, what's so frustrating there is just that nobody thinks about it this way. I think that's like a frustrating thing in just like e-commerce in general. It's like sell, convert at all costs. And then everybody just pops everything over the fence to CX because you think of it only as support, but you're not thinking about it holistically as a customer journey, like, or a customer's experience.
Yes, 100%.
Well, let's backtrack because we really went on a tangent there, which is fine. I think there's so many valuable nuggets in there, but like, I want to make sure that like we also, we talked about your Glossier experience to Fresh Clean Threads, but like we didn't, like what I really want to kind of backtrack to is like, you've built your career in customer experience, you individually, but what originally pulled you into this world? Like what attracted you to CX?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's rare for me to say, like, I accidentally fell into CX. I think that's a really common thing that I hear from people around me in the CX world. Like, it's so, I think partly it's just there's a misunderstanding of what CX can be, of what we were talking about, like that it's customer service and support versus like this holistic thing. But it's like a hidden thing behind everything going on in our world. And I think more and more, when I was growing up and going through school, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, with my career. I was like, nothing interests me. None of the typical things interested me. So I just was sort of like going along being like, oh, I'll find a job that I'll like. And I accidentally, I was just looking for a job, like I said, and I fell into this interview process at Glossier as a CX agent. And I was like, well, this is just like, I'm a fan of Glossier. Like this sounds like something I can do, and that could be fun as a job. The second I got there and started the training and like learning what the job would actually be and getting to know the people in CX there on the team, I was like, whoa, like it was mind blowing to me. Like I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like CX being this blend of like people centered, empathetic work and like logical, analytical, operational work speaks to me as a person so directly that I was like, oh, this is like what my personality is like. And I immediately was like, okay, I need to figure out how to grow in this. And I said to my manager at the time, shout out Janie Cormier, who's like still my North Star, that I was like, hey, I really want to grow in this. Can you support me? And I credit a lot of where I've been able to get to Janie, because she like took me under her wing and she trusted me. And I think that's a common perspective as well in CX. I think because of the personality that leans toward CX work, and you know, our sisterhood of the traveling CX group is a reflection of that as well, that we're all supporting each other and like helping each other grow. So yeah, I was at Glossier for about 5 years, and growing through that amount of time was that was very formative.
Yeah. I also think shout out to the good leaders, man.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like we end up in these spaces. We end up in CX. I ended up in CX like after art school, you know, and then like shout out to the head of finance at my first startup, because who knew I was going to end up in rolling under operations, right? And finance. But best leader, right? Learned so much that like really helped me in my CX career. And then like as it trickled out, right? Like I think good leadership, good CX leadership is how people can like excel. And it's like, and good CX leaders are really empathetic and they care about other people, you know, because it's like CX could be the catalyst to doing so many things. Like you're exactly what you're talking about. You're like, I joined to do these things in like an agent capacity, and now like I'm running the show and director of CX, but like doing dope things that think about the overall customer experience journey and not just thinking about it from like support, right? Like, and I think like you had your own philosophies, of course, and I would want to like dive more into that. But I think it's like good leadership is how that cultivated your own career path. So.
Totally. I completely agree.
And I guess like with that, right? Like you now being in like that leadership portion, right? So as a leader, like how do you balance driving results with supporting your team on that human level? Like for you as a leader, how are you supporting people?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's paying attention to what people are good at and like and leaning into that for them and asking them like, what is it that you're interested and that you want to do, and let's find a way to connect that back to what our goals are as a CX team, as an organization. Like, let's find ways to do that together. And I think that's the best thing to do. Like, I think I don't want to try and fit someone in a box that they don't fit into. And I think the other piece about it specific to CX is, and relating to what we were talking about, how CX touches everything, is it's actually not that hard to hear what someone is interested in and passionate about and find ways to connect it back to CX, because CX touches so many different things. So if someone is really interested in operations, like put them to work on logistics and get them working with making sure that our orders are being processed correctly. If someone is really interested in like writing empathetic responses, like get them to work writing really great macros. Like you can find connection points for so many different passions and growth areas, which is something that like it is so helpful in being a leader, is and making those people feel supported by just making them feel heard and like they have opportunities.
Yeah. I like, honestly, a mic drop moment, because like truthfully, I think like I think you like CX really can develop people into anything.
Yeah.
Actually, this is a really good call out. Like another gal that's in our group chat, but Madison Must, right? She
Yes.
started in CX and then led into marketing, and Sundays for Dogs was doing like went CX and then went into like customer lifecycle at Sundays, and then just recently landed a role as a lifecycle manager at Armra.
Yeah.
But like
Major props.
Major props to Madison, because it's like that is, I think if you start at understanding CX, it honestly makes you a better marketer. I like,
Absolutely.
I mean, granted, like this might be like tooting my own horn, truthfully, but like I started in CX and then learned product marketing, but everything I do is different than like a growth marketer or, you know, other like standard retention marketers, because what I'm thinking of is like, I'm always thinking about that life cycle, like journey for the customer because of like where I started, right? And I just think that I like, and on that same vein, I actually think it's really important that companies, when you have new team members joining, you actually spend time, have those people spend time in whatever capacity, whatever role they're in CX, so they understand that customer's journey to then bleed into the rest of their job and responsibilities.
Yeah, totally. You can just learn so much. It's just easy to be in the customer's shoes if you have actually talked to the customer.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, now going to like your philosophy and approach of like CX, like you individually, because like when you think of CX, what is your North Star? And what I mean by that, sorry, like what do you think when you think about the customer experience? Like not just like CX as a department, what's your North Star for that customer's experience?
To me, it's trust. Trust is my like favorite word to think about, and I think you have to build trust with the customer, and that comes at every touch point. So it means being, being authentic, being clear, and being transparent with the customer. You have to be honest from the get-go. That builds trust with them. So like if there's information that you're hiding from them, then they have questions that might be stopping them from ordering or ordering again. Just having that transparency and honesty builds that trust and makes them feel connected to the brand in general. Like, oh, I trust that. They feel confident, I think. And I think confidence in the brand in general is like, that's so important. Like these days we see so many like weird, like placing an order from a weird Instagram brand and then like nothing happened. You don't get anything. So you're like, people are losing confidence in e-commerce brands in general because there's so much weirdness going on. So you have to like actively build that confidence by building that trust.
Yeah, dude, nail on the head on that point, right? Like, because we put so much into like TikTok and Instagram, like sales, right? From a growth perspective. I know, like, I feel like this whole chat, I've been like, growth marketing, think about your CX. But you're like nail on the head though, because that's a really valid point about like trust and transparency, right?
Yeah.
The even for me, when I'm like shopping on TikTok, like there's, you're gonna laugh, but like there's this like weird vacuum that keeps coming up on like my algorithm.
Yeah.
And I get like hit with it all the time. And it's like putting like the fear of everything in me, because it's like, you have dust mites in your furniture. And I'm like, oh my God, I need this vacuum, right?
Yeah.
But, and it's so funny because it's like, okay, so the psychological shift is like, I keep seeing this vacuum. I now have the fear about dust mites. Okay.
Yeah.
And then because I keep clicking on it to be like, what are you talking about? It keeps showing up more and more in my algorithm. But like every other post is like, we have a deal of the day. We have this for you. We have that for you. Right. And it's like, I cannot pull the trigger on purchasing it because I can't figure out who the brand really is. And I'm like, am I really going to get this, like this deal of the day vacuum that's like $300, but you want to sell it to me for $59? Like that already feels scammy, right?
Yes.
But like, but there's so much, and I know I'm just bringing up this one vacuum, but there's so many. Like when I'm on TikTok, I'm getting hit with constant things to buy, and that already feels scammy to me. And then now you see all these e-commerce brands like moving into TikTok and like crushing it on and doing great sales on it, but like, if your experience, what you're saying is like, if your North Star is trust and transparency, right? And like, you're absolutely right. Like when you have the brand, like that brand has to display that. If I go to that website, like I'd have,
Yes.
like, because I'm coming through this channel of TikTok and Instagram where it already feels scammy. So if I go to that website journey or am interacting with the support team or whatever it is, I have to feel that trust and transparency in order to want to make a purchase.
Yes, 100%. And at every point, like the example you were talking about of pre-orders, like if your pre-order is going to be 3 days and then processing time, like 1 to 2 more days, and then shipping time, like just tell the customer that. Like if you tell them, they will know what to expect. They'll trust you and have confidence that they're going to get their order when they're going to get it. But like if you just don't tell them, then you're creating that like ambiguity. And then if you tell them that their pre-order is going to be in 3 days, but really it's not until 5 days, like 2 days, like, oh, that doesn't feel like, oh, it's just 2 days. Like, no, when you're someone who shops online and you've seen situations, when you've experienced situations where another brand has hurt your confidence, hurt your trust in them, you're going to not trust that you're getting your order 2 days later. Like you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is a scam. Like they said 3 days, it's been 5 days and I haven't heard anything. I was fully scammed. This is totally fake. But all you did was forget to tell them about the extra 2 days. And that would have built that trust with them. And they would feel confident and not be upset.
Dude, all it takes, like, girl. Because I literally have 2 brands that live in this like pre-order status. And and like, it's fine. And I get it. Like you're trying to like build revenue. I completely understand. But then like what happens is if you do pre-orders or drops or any of those things, it's like you have to be transparent.
Yes.
And like it's like almost under promise so you can over deliver.
100%. I was just gonna say that. Like, don't guess either. Like if you don't have a clear idea, like tell the customer you don't have a clear idea. So like if you think it's going to take 3 to 4 days, say 3 to 4 days. Don't say 3 days or say 4 days. Like under promise and over deliver, or just be really honest. Like we don't know. But like if you trust us, we'll figure it out. Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the piece of like, just be honest.
Yeah, just be honest. It's like, just absolutely be honest and just under promise and over deliver. That's like the way,
Yeah.
like, I think what's interesting is like when people don't think about it, put themselves in the customer's shoes, is like they think like, oh, I am being transparent by saying like, oh, this is going to deliver in X amount of days. But like you forget about all the other pieces of like, well, is that product going to get into the warehouse? Is that product going to get scanned into the warehouse and then ready to ship? Wait, there's also the piece of the carrier. Like, carriers suck right now. FedEx, DHL, On Track, you're all on my shit list, okay? Because you overpromise and underdeliver.
Yes.
Okay. But my point is though, is like, you have to, like, we keep coming back to this, but you have to think about the holistic journey of what happens throughout your entire customer's journey, or you're just going to deteriorate that trust. Like, you're just, people are not going to, and like right now, acquisition costs are so high. So thinking about retention and retaining that customer at acquisition is so important, you know?
Yes, totally. And I think, and the honesty is not just, I think another piece of the like transparency is like being as granular as you can about the transparency. So like, I think about like when we give an estimated delivery date to the customer, and like even if we're meeting that expectation, if we haven't told the customer that it's going to take 2 days to process their order, they're going to reach out to us the day after they place their order and say, my order hasn't shipped. Like, there's absolutely no way you're going to get it to me in 5 days. And we're like, actually, no, we will. It's just going to take another day to process, and then it'll be on its way. Like, just hang on, like, give us some time, like patience. And like, why are we like being like, why are we hiding that from the customer? Like, let's just tell them it could take 2 days, so that as they're waiting, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that's what it said. Like, let me just trust that that's happening. And they give that extra waiting time rather than making them reach out and feel concerned, or even if they didn't reach out, they're just sitting around feeling like, I'm losing trust in this brand. So
dude. And it goes back to what I was even saying. It's like, people don't actually care about your brand. What they care about is, I have purchased something from you, give me my goods.
Yes.
Bottom line.
100%.
Okay. Like, if I am spending hundreds, thousands, $20, I want my product. That's it. I don't care if it's, a pen, a t-shirt, like, I want my product. And like, and the value too is like, when you break that customer's trust, they're going to go tell their friends.
Yes.
Like, Symbiotica. Real cute. Love that brand. Broke my trust. I tell all my friends. Truthfully. Jolie Skin Co. Never broke my trust. Loved them. I can't fit them into like my showers in my apartment, but I'm going to tell all my friends about you.
Yeah.
I'm going to, like, here's a bad story, here's a good story. It's like, word of mouth is so important. And like, that's the other piece of like trust and transparency. It's like, it's not about just them converting. That one customer's lifetime value could multitude in 3 or 4 additional customers that could be lifetime for you.
Yes. 100%. 100%. If you give them a negative experience and they don't care about your brand, which is so many, care enough about your brand, they will not tell you that they had the poor experience, but they will tell other people. And so it can just spiral if you aren't thinking about that piece.
Yeah, totally. Going back to like your philosophy though, I'm curious because you actually mentioned a couple of like really great KPIs, and I want to dig deeper into that. What other KPIs are you using in your like tool and arsenal to like measure your customer experience beyond like CSAT or even NPS?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're looking at returns and reviews pretty carefully and trying to communicate that back to our product team. And they look at it really, really carefully. Also, I I'm really tuned in on when we do have customer tickets, like what are those tickets about, and making sure that our CX team is really categorizing our tickets properly and tagging with the SKU of what the ticket was about and the order number, and so that we can tie all that data back together and
Yeah.
actually get a picture of what our customers are talking about. And sometimes it's like in the moment things, like we see a pattern of a fulfillment issue that's related to one specific SKU. Having all that data showing what that pattern is, that helps to not have to dive into and read all of the tickets, which in its own way is important, but for quick and like very clear action, we can see that pattern and head back to our fulfillment center to solve that problem. And then longer term, like, okay, we're seeing a lot of customers reach out and return this particular SKU. And if we dive further in, it's because it's a fit issue. And so then we can go back to our product team and say like, hey, we're seeing a pattern with this. Like, what's going on here? Like, do you guys want to look into it? And getting that clear feedback.
Yeah. I love that. Again, it's feedback.
Yes.
It's what are your customers thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really love putting that into like just a voice of the customer, like dashboard and like the overall vision.
Yes.
I'm curious. Do you have like any sort of like favorite customer story, like one that maybe like stuck with you and reminded you of like why it is that you do this work in CX?
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I have a really good one from Glossier. Okay.
Ooh.
So I when I was at Glossier, I helped with training on the opening of the Los Angeles retail brick and mortar. And it was so much fun because all of the retail editors, that's what the sales associates were called then, I think still, were so excited to be there. Really big Glossier fans. And at the time, the training manager, Mallory Pendleton, who, shout out Mallory, I loved working with her. She was joining remotely to the training and running the training. And one of the retail editors, he raised his hand and he was like, hey, I just want to say I have this memory of when I was on vacation in New York and I went to the Glossier store and they forgot one of the items that I purchased. I went home to the hotel and I realized it wasn't there. So I emailed the CX team and I said, what can I do about this? And I had a G team editor who helped me get this product messengered from the Glossier store in New York to my hotel room that day before I left on my flight to leave New York. And he said, it was Mallory. It was Mallory who was the leading the training that day, and it was her. He remembered her by name and the experience, and it was just so special. And he was like, it's one of the reasons why I'm such a big fan of Glossier, is like having that experience. And I just love when there's like such a personal connection and like that feeling of like being so cared for and feeling so special, like that he remembered Mallory by name and how special it was that she was still there years later. It's just, I think there's so much to like making that true human connection, and that being memorable, it can just make a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Man, I really love that. I love that story. I love like when we can put the
Yeah.
human side of things, you know, and it's
Yeah.
not just like like tickets. I think even on the other end of it, like I actually had this like encounter the other day with a brand who deals with pre-orders. But the reason I'm prefacing that is because it's just it's such a terrible experience when in pre-orders. But so this customer on DMs was so mad and upset, and he was just like, "Ugh, so rude," all these things. And like instead of me losing my cool and like and having the conversation, or like the agents losing their cool, we were just like humanizing. We were like, "Hey, man, totally understand." Absolutely get like why you're aggravated, you have this issue, like recognizing it, showing empathy for it,
Yeah.
and resolved his issue, got him the information that he wanted, like got him everything that he needed. And it's interesting because he came back like the next day in DMs. He goes, "Hey, I'm so sorry I was rude." He actually said, like, "I'm so sorry I was an asshole. I was just really
Mm-hmm.
frustrated. Like, I know you guys are just doing the best that you possibly can, like, whatever." But like, so even on the other end of it, it's like, even if you can't physically do something for a customer, even just showing empathy and that human side
Yes.
in the conversation can really 180 like a frustrating experience for somebody, you know?
Totally, 100%. I think that so many customers come into conversations with such low expectations. Like, I can't tell you how often I have seen conversations where a customer will come and they're just expecting to like not get what they want or need. And so they're coming in hot. And then if we give them a response that is actually supportive, like so often they like flip so quickly where it's like, oh, I actually am being helped by a human being who understands me. So like all we have to do is really like it's like such a low bar for us to meet,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
raising that bar, like it can really change everything.
I agree with you. Totally.
Yeah.
Um, okay, I have two last questions for you, and these are a little deep, but I'm curious of your opinion.
Okay.
What do you think the future of customer experience will look like in 5 years?
That's a good question. It's hard to
Told you it's
say. I
deep.
mean, it is deep, and I think, we're seeing a lot of change right now, with AI specifically more than anything. I think it's exciting because I think AI, like I am a believer in AI being super impactful in CX. I think it's important for us to be thinking about how AI and humans are interacting together and how we can use AI to level up CX. So like as
Mm-hmm.
you and I are talking about this holistic point of view, I think it's cool that we can think about AI taking on the nuts and bolts of the support piece and allowing us to direct our attention more to like the higher level holistic CX work. So it'll free up CX teams to do more of that and free up leaders to do more of that,
Mm-hmm.
um, beyond what we're doing now, and being able to communicate with other parts of the business, like
Mm-hmm.
this is where how we're leveling up as a result. So I feel optimistic that AI is going to help us drive that. And I feel like every day I see more leaders in organizations outside CX giving more credit to CX. I think it's still a struggle in some places, but I'm seeing it more and more that we're not having to fight as much. Like we're
Mm-hmm.
being heard more and more because the proof is in the pudding. Like it's there. Like we don't have to yell as loud in every single situation.
Right. Right. I mean, totally. God, I totally agree with you. And I mean, like, in that same vein, what what legacy do you want to leave in the CX space? Because it's like we talked a lot about like mentors and people like you're like shout out to this person, shout out to this person. Like, what do you individually want to be recognized as in the CX space?
Yeah, I mean, I think the people that we're shouting out who are mentors to me, like I aspire to a similar like a similar space as them. So being able to be that person for someone else and have that impact is important to me. But also like helping drive what we've been talking about in CX of this more holistic point of view. I think the other thing I think about, and maybe this is a bit of a tangent, but I think it relates, is that like I think there's a misunderstanding from people outside of CX that when they're talking to a CX agent, that person is responsible for the experience that they're having. Yeah. And that like hurts me. Yeah. Because I will have an interaction with a CX agent and I can tell that they are like, you can tell the difference. Like sometimes an agent is not doing their best, but a lot of times they're doing their best. They don't have the tools that they need to actually help you. And so I think like when I think about being a leader in CX, it's so important to me to like make sure that my team has all of the tools that they need to do their jobs correctly, and so that customers feel supported within the means of the agent. So like my team doesn't, or as infrequently as possible, my team doesn't feel like the brunt of like missing what the tools to actually do their jobs. So I think that's like what I'm hoping to see more of across CX, and something that I want my legacy to be in CX as well, is like giving all that I have to help my team feel supported, and then as a result, customers.
Yeah. I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, Sydney, we have hit the end of the road. Where can the audience find you?
On LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, babe. We love LinkedIn.
That's it.
Sydney Chesler. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you. I'm glad we could do this. I was supposed to be in Portland. I did come to Portland, but I wasn't able to do a studio time. So I'm glad we could reschedule and have a virtual meeting. I think your philosophy on CX is really dope. And I'm so excited to watch you continue growing your career, but also continue growing mini Sydneys in the teams that you're running.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Dang, we've made it to the end of the podcast and you're still here. So thank you so much for listening to Above the Fold podcast. For the best of this episode and every episode, be sure to follow us on Instagram and my YouTube channel. And for deeper dives on the secrets to brand success, don't forget to subscribe to my weekly newsletter, Sunday Postcards. All right, my dudes and gals, see you next week.